Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio. We're your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic. It's really a new day. We're live from New Zealand, literally. So it is a new day there, and I'm on the other side of the world. And again, it's always a blast to the past for you. And I guess I'm talking in the future for me, so it's all cool. I just cannot ever get over this part of how this world works. And you know what? It is beautiful, and I love it. Well, that being said, so today we're going to talk about conscious living, you being you, the true you, how we can live better. And with me, and as I said, we're from, talking in New Zealand, with New Zealand today. With me, I have Berneman, and he is actually co-founder of Conscious Action. And really, he's going to bring us to the level where we can live better and hopefully be more conscious, I guess, and take more actions to better live it. Am I right?
Yes. And thank you so much for having me here. As you say, it's always so interesting talking with people in the past, like being here, the first time zone in the world. And it's just, every time, as I was saying earlier, every time talking with my family, it's always like with my niece and nephew, especially, it's like, I'm in the future, and, it's always really interesting. But yeah, it's always for me a wonderful way of spending my time having conversations like this and raising consciousness, and to be able to give us all an understanding of what's possible, because I know that what I understand now and how I live now is not how I was brought up and not what I was doing 20 years ago. So I know that if I can change and I can actually realize the way of how to live more harmoniously, then everybody can do it.
Well, thank you, Brian. I mean, first of all, I love the idea about the blast from the past kind of thing. And the good news is the future is here. It's bright, it's light, and it's good. So Earth is still running, and that's sweet.
Yes.
but really, I love what you said about change. And most of us, if not all of us, we are basically brought up in this world, and there's an environment, an entourage that takes us one way or the other. We're pretty much kind of taught everything from the beginning of, when we're born until we become real aware of things, right? But that can take time. And some of us are not aware for decades. Some of us are, sooner than others. But you're right. So we have a lot of influence. And there are some traits that we learn, or some innate stuff that's automatic. But to your point, you were raised, in a particular way. I was raised in a different way. And some of us come from different cultures. And then we mix in, and then we can adjust and adapt. And just the journey begins, and it continues. But really, let's talk about that part about it. The influences that are around us, surrounding each and every one of us on this planet. When we are first, opening our eyes in the world and understanding that we're really here. Because the first couple of years, obviously, we don't know that. But eventually, you start making, well, I'm alive, and you start grabbing all these cultures, influences, whatever, the things, the energies of the world, right? And also like different things that are really pushed into you, whatever they might be. So how first of all, how did you make that leap? And then obviously that led you to create this particular in a company that you're working with and bringing this awareness to the world. So let's talk about that journey.
Yeah, so I'm actually super grateful for my parents, because they are the ones that started their own journey of self-development, what some might call a spiritual journey. They were starting to learn certain things that were kind of like outside of the bubble in a sense that we were growing up. As you're saying, we are all in these certain conditions and certain cultures and certain communities. It's not always easy to step a little bit outside of those borders, and I'm really grateful that my parents started to do that, and that they encouraged me and my siblings to follow that if that resonated with us. So for whatever reason, all of those practices like meditation and some yoga practices and Buddhism, and learning more about different cultures, that was something that I felt there was something there. Because I grew up knowing that there was more to life than what I was living. I didn't know what. I couldn't, I couldn't pinpoint it, but there was this inner knowing that was there. And through the path that my parents started to take, then I basically was like, okay, this seems interesting. I'm going to try it out, because I was, as a kid and as a teenager, super stressed out, very shy. And I didn't know how to handle things. I was completely out of touch with my body and my emotions and my feelings. So all of those things that I started to explore really changed the perspectives in my life and gave me a lot of the tools that are some of the tools that I shared with a lot of people on how to start to be, how to understand what's going on. And it's very interesting, because now, many years after I've done that, like 20 years after, now I can more easily understand the role that those early years have in our life, the role that those conditions and environments and people in our life have on us, because we are taking so much conditioning, like that programming, into our future, into our adulthood, as well, lots of trauma. So all of the experiences that we didn't have the tools to process as kids, which no kid has that. So, it's not that, like, talking about trauma, a lot of times it feels like this big thing. We all have trauma. Like, if one time even our parents didn't pick us up when we were crying, we got trauma. So we need to understand that we need to normalize a lot of things that seem to be kind of like weird and not talked about, and understanding, okay, I'm not a victim of those circumstances. I have the power to actually create change and to rewire my brain and to refocus and to redefine and bring in new meaning into my life. And that is a very personal journey, because for everyone, there's kind of like these different keys that we can use to open the doors. But for me, it was about starting to open up my experiences, starting to learn about different traditions, started to come back into the body with Tibetan yoga, with meditation, with energy healing. And those are the things that really changed me. And it's, I feel like the person that I was as a teenager, that's a past life. I don't feel like this is this lifetime, because also, I grew up in Argentina, and then I moved and I lived in the US, and I lived in Europe, and again in the US, and I lived in, a few different places. And then I lived for a few years at a Buddhist center in the middle of the mountain in California. And, all of those seem like such a different path that when I look back, I'm like, wow, like that kid, that teenager version of me, that's so far removed from where I am now. Yet there's nothing that I would change about that little boy, because that led me to this place.
That's a lot to unpack. So let's break it down. First things first. I appreciate what you said about your parents, because you had the privilege, the luck of having parents that actually were able to guide you early on. We hope that all parents are that way, but it's not always the case for a lot of people, and maybe some of our listeners, viewers, may not have had the same experience. And but whatever the case may be for those folks, the idea is that you can still change, and no matter what, you just had a different opportunity than most, and maybe and you're going to guide us to maybe for the people that didn't have that opportunity to actually change and be able to still achieve this path that you've mentioned. But I love what you said also about you will not change anything, period, from the past, although that is so far back. And I think all of us, as you age a little bit and you become a little more wise, you do understand that you're completely different from where you started. But yet, what makes you today is all of the above. It's everything behind. Whatever those experiences, challenges, hurdles, paths you've taken, bad, good, otherwise. You mentioned trauma. Those are part of you and what makes you today. And there is a need for that. Sometimes unnecessary things happen, and but it's how we learn from them. Those are experiences, and if you take the juice out of those and you apply correctly, and it's like literally just take in the good and dump the rest, and then that's how you achieve. But the idea is you have to be aware again to do all these things. But at the end of the day, I think everybody at any given point, if they start just to pause for a minute and just look back, where was I? How could I have different paths? Definitely there are paths, but yet it didn't happen. It only happened the way it happened, and that's the only way it could have happened because you're there today and you can't change that, right? So it's a little philosophical, but it's almost like the Matrix thing, right?
Yeah. Well, like with that saying that, like it's kind of like this idea of multi dimensions and multiple universes as well. Like I could say like every single decision that I have made, every single thought, I could like extrapolate from that, and it's such a different life. Yet, everything that has happened, there's so much power on embracing and befriending all of my experiences. Getting out of that labeling and that judgment of that was good, that was bad, that was. And when I allow myself to embrace everything that happened, I am actually not being dragged down by anything that I still am rejecting. Because anytime that I reject any part of me that has happened or any person from my life, even if they were, like really bad influences or someone that like I had really, really bad experience with, if I still carry that with me, then I'm not free from that. And what I want is to be able to move forward in my life. And that is about, instead of trying to reject things, it's about, okay, I'm going to embrace it because that happened. And this, again, the good, the bad, the positive, the negative, all of it, what happened. And this is one of the things, like, I get a lot of times the question asked about, like if I could talk to my younger self, what advice I would give? And I'm like, I wouldn't give any advice. It's like, don't change anything, because if not, I wouldn't be here. So that is key.
That is powerful. And you're right. So it's amazing because, there are quantum physics, and, there's a real, concept where there are the past, the present, the future do exist at the same time. But I mean, to comprehend that from a physical, world and from a reality world is just too complex. And a lot of folks may sometimes not get around that idea, but it is real. And it doesn't matter what belief, what religion, it kind of always converges to the idea that could be possible and that it happens. But again, it's beyond the, typical comprehension, but it does exist. But you're right. When you start thinking, and that's the thing, the minute you start wondering and pondering and really just kind of like rehashing some of the stuff, and even just taking a minute, that's the thing, we are moving fast. And most of us may not stop to think and kind of like just reflect on, how did I do? What did I do? Did I make the right move? Not the right move? If I had done it differently, would have changed. Technically, if you did it differently, it would have changed, but the chances are, if you're here today, this is where you're going to meet and this is where you're meant to be. Now, could have been a bad outcome? Sure. I mean, it's like going on the street, you take the left instead of right, and God forbid, something happens, or sometimes the opposite. You go to the left, had you gone the right, something bad happened in the right. But you can never say like, well, had I done, well, you didn't,
yes.
And what happened exactly happened at the right time, at the right concept, at the right location. And, you mentioned you've moved a lot and you've lived different places. And those were meant for you. Those are the times and those time frames you were supposed to be exactly that. And in those experiences, you were supposed to pick some things that's eventually going to influence who you are today. And that's actually, I believe in that personally, because every single experience in life, and I love what you said about people, no matter who they are, even the ones that affected you the worst, sometimes we talked like in different shows about the power of thank you, and I actually thank those people because sometimes those people are the real key sometimes for success or for you making the right decisions and making some bold moves to actually remove you from some of that influence, and really it impacts you well. So when you look at it, is always as long as you look at the positive part about it and you move on, and to your point, what happened. Can't change it. You can't go back in time. I mean, unless we can travel back, and use the quantum stuff. But that's a whole different discussion. But the fact is, in reality, time is linear. We're going forward, at least from the human part, right? But the awareness and the consciousness of us, is here today.
Yeah.
And again, understanding those dynamics changes the dynamics.
Yeah, and with that, it's key to understand that, as you're saying, that power of gratitude is key to understand, because again, we wouldn't be here without those things. I use, for example, and this is one of the methods that I work with a lot, and I love it. It's called family constellations. For the ones that haven't heard it, is a therapeutic technique. It's a way of healing. And one of the practices there is about not excluding anything and anyone from our past to be able to actually come back to being whole. And that is the path of healing, coming back to our wholeness. And when we understand that everything that happened, even those bad things, like I did a practice once in a session for myself with my teacher, and my family, my dad's dad, he escaped from the Second World War from Poland. A lot of the family was killed because they were Jewish. And in that session, I actually was grateful for Hitler. And not only forgiving Hitler, but being able to be thankful for him. Because if it wasn't for him, my grandpa wouldn't have escaped Poland, wouldn't have gone to Argentina, and I wouldn't exist, right? And the interesting thing there, and I work this a lot with a lot of my clients, especially those that, for example, were abused. This is not about the other person. This is not about the other person getting off the hook. This is about me not carrying that any longer with me. Me not being a victim anymore, me not being less than, me being able to integrate everything and being able to understand that happened. And I might not, as you're saying, in this linear time, I might not be able to change what happened. I can change my relationship with what happened.
Right.
This is key in everything that is going on now around the world, that there's a lot of things that are coming into light that were buried under the rugs. It's, like all of these different movements that are starting to come out. The key there for me is something that, Mandela did in South Africa, is not going back to that victim and perpetrator cycle. It's like, we want to stop that cycle. We want to come back to a place of equity. We want to come back to a place of harmony. We want to come back to a place of balance. And that was, and it still is, completely out of balance. We wanted to come back to balance. We don't want to go over others because they did something to us, because then that will never make that cycle stop. And, one of the things that I ask a lot of times to some of my clients is, do you want revenge or do you want to heal? And that is powerful, because there's nothing wrong about being angry and being hurt and being, and wanting like that for the other because they did that to us. Yet that's never going to end because we keep on going in that cycle. And it's like, we want to be able to finish that. So it's key for me to be able to understand that for myself and for others. And that doesn't come easy, that is a lot of work on unlearning and choosing more consciously how do we want to show up in this world and what is that we want to see around us.
So right, I love what you said, but I do want to just to highlight something because I know you mentioned the name of Hitler, so I just want to highlight that because of just people watching and listening, they might get a little bit excited about it. So just to clarify with them, what you said clearly is that you're not for him, but you actually
No.
not using not going and dwelling about what he did, but because of what he did, your grandparents, were able to move and do the stuff. So it's really not focused not on him and
Yes.
how. So just to be clear,
Completely on me. Yes. Yeah.
exactly.
This is not about getting people off the hook. This is not that what
That's
he
right.
did. Like what he did was horrendous and was wrong. And like that, yes. I don't want to take that on anymore. I don't want to feel like that I'm still a victim because my ancestors had that happening to them. I carry that with me. Like all of us that we have had, and I mean, majority of us that our ancestors were victims of something really horrible. We carry that within us, in our DNA. And that is part of the things that keeps us down and keeps us in that place of being a victim and not being able to move on in our lives. It's kind of like, as my teacher used to say, it's kind of as if you're always being dragged down, or as if you're driving the car and you have the handbrake on. And that is, that is about my experience. It's not about them. It's about me being able to move on. So thank you for saying that, because yes, I want to make sure that people understand this is not about saying anything for him or for anybody that has abused or has been a perpetrator. What they did was wrong. But as someone that doesn't want to carry anymore that energy, that is the healing that I'm doing.
And Ryan, thank you for even exploring that further. But the idea you talked about vengeance or revenge or healing. 1, 2, you talked about again when you clarified about the horrendous things that Hitler did. And yes, I mean he is always going to remain one of the worst folks in the history of mankind, and for what he did to humanity. Doesn't matter, he used race, religion as a tactic and whatever it is, and people did follow through. But unfortunately, and I think to what you just said, I don't think someone today that exists has not experienced something in their history where somewhere back in a couple of centuries back, their ancestry had some sort of an impact by somebody just like him. Cultures, religions, they all went crazy over the years and the centuries, and we still see some of that today, and it's going to continue until people are aware and they stop that cycle. To your point, I want to take. I'm up now. Let me take back. You're up now. Let me take back. That's never going to end. I mean, it's like the old in the Arab world, they had that where tribes had these vengeance, thing. And some parts, even, today, there are parts where they still have those things in Turkey. And if, an eye for an eye type of thing. So if somebody gets hurt in the tribe, the whole tribe goes in and they want blood. That's practice that's been diminishing a lot. We see it sometimes, an eye for an eye in a different aspect in the political world, whatever, but it's changing the dynamics. But to your point, reaching the level where you are at, I am peaceful. Okay, the past is the past. Let's start a new page, clean page, and I think we'll still live. I mean, you and I talked about the soccer earlier, right, and the football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you think about it, the world gets together, everybody's happy, and getting and we forget the differences, and everybody's supporting each other. And yes, there's competitiveness and all stuff, but you get like the whole village of Earth, having a good time and enjoying and just sharing something similar and not hating each other. Although there are some people that kind of go extreme a little bit. But again, that's the thing. Extremism, everything is wrong, right? You can't have that. But the level of consciousness or level of awareness where I mean, I have the power to take revenge, to take action, but I choose not to because I want to break the cycle. That's a whole different thing. And a lot of people sometimes are not able to do that. That's difficult.
Yes, and you know what? One of the keys there, and you mentioned this at earlier in the conversation, is to be able to have the time to stop, being able to just stop and slow down, because most of us are living in a very fast pace in this automatic pilot, and we're going really fast. We don't know where we're going, but we're going there and we're going fast. But when we're able to stop, we're able to notice, and we're able to actually understand that most of the time we are reacting instead of responding to life. And the reaction is completely unconscious. The responding, I am choosing, it's conscious. The action might be the same, but it's coming from a very different place. So when I'm able to stop and I'm able to reflect and I'm able to understand, if in this example, if I'm going to actually keep on fighting, if I'm going to keep on allowing this cycle to continue, how is that helping me? How is that helping those that are coming next? How is that helping the community in general? Because, I am of the belief that if you are doing well, and if my neighbors are doing well, if the people in the next town are doing well, and the people in the next country are doing well, then we're all doing better. Like I'm doing better if you're doing better. This is why I don't subscribe to the competition system that we have currently. I'm all about collaboration. I'm all about celebrating others, even others that are doing exact same things as me, because I don't see them as competition. I see them as they are doing amazing stuff. And people will resonate with them perhaps more than with me. So the more that we understand that, as you're saying with the World Cup as an example, I actually I was brought up to be to cheer for one team or the country and to be against the others. And I could never do that. I was always like, wow, look at how Brazil is playing. Look at how amazing Spain is. Or, and I'm like, I remember people telling me no, you're supposed to be booing them, And I'm like, but that's so they are playing so well. And when we understand that, it's how can we appreciate that instead of being against the other thing? And the same, with different countries, different cultures. And that doesn't mean that we need to think alike in everything. It's just about understanding how can I hold you with compassion? How can I hold you with understanding? How can I listen and not trying to change your point of view? If you decide to change your point of view by seeing something else from me or from someone else because you recognize, that seems like a much easier way of living, or that seems really interesting, then okay, take that. But it's one of the things that I find really important. I don't try to change anyone. People come to me to work to change their lives, but it's I'm not going to change you. You recognize different things, and I'm going to be there supporting you and guiding you to be able to understand that, yes, I've been doing this for so long that I can give you certain shortcuts or certain ways of seeing that perhaps you haven't seen yet, but the person that is there is doing the change. I'm not doing anything. If you're not ready to change, then you can work with me or with Tony Robbins or with whoever, and you're not going to change. So it's it's about being able to recognize our place in the whole and understanding we're unique. We don't need to change that uniqueness, but to understand that, we need to understand, have I been unique or have I been trying to be like everybody else?
Awesome. Well, that's really describing being a catalyst and being a conduit or guide, as opposed to just, the people have to make the actual work. You're there just to give them the actual paths and share with them the tools that they can apply. And by the way, I think one of the powerful things you're talking about right now is the concept of forgiveness or being stronger, because it takes a lot more power to be able to let go, more power to be able to say, I'm not going to do the same as you. Just, now, I mean, we hear this, if someone gives you the left cheek, they slap you on cheek, you just, look at the other way. I know it's hard to say it, and to it's harder to actually comprehend that it can be done. But if you're able to get to the point where you Zen, I mean, in martial arts, I'm in the world of martial arts, and I always say the best fight is the one that never happened. And sometimes people look at me what's wrong with you? You train to be able to defend yourself. You're not trained to actually hurt people and stuff. But at the same time, if you can avoid one and just walk away from it, actually that's a better attitude. And, but that takes a different level of understanding. Yeah, I know I can handle myself, but, if I can handle it without even touching or getting involved in the practice, that's about, if I want to do that, let's go in the ring and do it as an amicable thing. And that's fine. But in reality of things, there is no win. The only win is if we both actually come out of it, nice and healthy and happy. And sometimes, we get angry, we get a little bit of, anxiety, and we get all excited. And that's because we don't think. If you take, I mean, you mentioned Buddhism, and I'm actually of Muslim faith, and there is a similarity in some of the practices. For example, for us, if you're getting like excited, you're supposed to sit down and just cool off, stop talking, just sit. And just by doing that exercise, literally, it's a practice. It helps with it. Take a minute, just take a knee, and just take a deep breath, and the whole thing. But if you state something while in the state of being angry, it's over. That's when everything escalates, and you're not even thinking. And that's actually what the mistake in talking about martial arts. That's where people make the mistake. They get excited, they start swinging. They're not even conscious of what they're doing. They're just moving, and you are able to see everything differently from them, and that's where you have the upper hand. But if you calm yourself down and to the level where you're aware, you're seeing things differently, and you can control the situation. And that's the other thing. Like, you can de-escalate stuff. Police, in general, they're trying to do that, de-escalation techniques and stuff. And it is a powerful tool, but not everybody is there. And we hear it, we see it in society, we see it in politics, we see it in the business. You talked about competition. People go crazy against each other, but you're right. Yeah, we can compete. I welcome competition, in a way, because to your point, it creates a nice vibe. But, I've been at events where we were like multiple, companies doing the same thing, and we are friends and stuff, it made the best, company wins, whatever. But at the end of the day, who is benefiting is the consumers, the clients, right? So as long as we're doing it, I may not be able to help everyone. They might be able to help someone. But at the end of the day, the people are being helped. That's the mission. Now, obviously, there's money involved. That's the other thing. Sometimes we get too materialistic, and we carry on everything. It's all about money. Who's going to make the most? Or about power, right? We're talking about power, So those two elements are the ones that destroy this planet already, because we're always looking at those two.
It's about coming back to what's actually important. So that is the power of stopping. And as you say, like, it doesn't matter which tradition, which culture. Every single culture, there's an element or tradition or religion, like there's an element of meditation, whether we want to call it meditation or presence or a connection, however we want to call it, or slowing down or reflecting. That is key, because that, nowadays, that is a superpower. To be able to have that practice. And I'm so grateful that I developed this like when I was a teenager, because I always exploded. I had road rage when I was driving, and then I learned, and it's like, now, I can actually choose how I want to be, and I can be the person that I want to be, and I can be around others. I can understand others, and I can understand, like, okay, they are, like angry, or they are stressed, so therefore they are reacting in this way. I understand that. I don't have to escalate that. I work a lot with the businesses that I work with, or some of my clients, like at the workplace. It's like, there's a lot of stress. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure to, like, to achieve or to do different things. And it's like, okay, if you're in a meeting or in a conversation with someone and you start to notice that, it's like, just take a time out, literally take the time out, go into the room and come back when you have the chance either to breathe or to, like, slow down, as you say, like, just literally calm down the nervous system. Come back to that place of self-regulation of the nervous system to be able to understand, is this going to actually help in anything? Or literally taking 1 minute or 5 minutes is going to achieve much more than if we keep on fighting. In the relationships, like in partnerships, the same. Like most of the issues are about that. And the understanding that, as we've been talking earlier, we all have our own experiences in life, and most of us are completely oblivious to what are those blockages or those traumas there, so that when someone in a relationship or at work, someone is going to actually trigger you by touching a button, they are not doing that on purpose. So understanding, like, what they did is not they attacked you, they just touched your button, and that is the trigger. So, when we understand and we hold that perspective in our life, this is why, living a little bit slowly, especially at the beginning, changes everything because it gives us the different perspective. It gives us the space of understanding. Like, you're not attacking me. You're just saying something based on your perspective. And I am feeling attacked because my dad said something, about something when I was a kid, and I got the same feeling. And I'm like, well, you're not doing that on purpose. You don't know that my dad did that when I was 2 years old. You're just saying something based on what your family did with you. And it's like, and therefore, like, a lot of times we're actually, traumatized people, or like people with blockages or with triggers being triggered all of the time, instead of understanding like, there's another human being there. How can I be? How can I coexist? How can I understand? Like, they are not doing this like to diminish me. They are doing that because that's what they know. And that is key, like in terms of another thing, that compassion, being able to hold everyone with compassion, being able to have that space of sympathy and empathy for everyone, because I have no idea what you've gone through in your life. I have no idea what anybody has gone in their life. I don't even know like exactly about my life. How can I know about everybody else? So getting out of that judgment and starting to see things with compassion, slowing down, that enables me to have more awareness, to have bigger perspective, and to understand how do I want to show up at this moment, and not judging how I shown up in the past and what I did in the past, because I cannot change that. Yes, I can reflect on that. Yes, I can learn from that. Yes, I can explain something, as you mentioned before, perhaps what I said wasn't clear enough. So it's like, okay, instead of being misunderstood, let's just take a moment and be like, did you mean this? Oh, no, actually, I meant that other thing. But we are not creating those spaces for ourselves or for others. So when we are able to slow down, then we're able to actually create space, create time. And that leads us to actually understand, like, I care about that person. I'm going to, to take the time to listen. I care about the environment. I care about, like, the land that I'm living in. What of the actions that I'm taking actually are supporting that or are detrimental to that? And when I start to slow down and I start to notice that, it's like, I realized a long time ago that I was living completely out of alignment with what I valued, with what I stand for. Not what anybody else thinks, what I have. So it's like, okay, how can I start to come back to that place? And that's why I said, what's important? What's important? What's important? And understanding, like, there's a balance. There's this dance of understanding, okay, we're living in this world where we need money and we need different things. And if I, I'm all of the time in the non-competition mindset, which is where I am, can I still make a living? And I'm a living proof that yes, but that's not what most people are being shown or that they know. So until the moment that they step into that zone, that it takes a lot of courage to do that, then what they know is that other competition system. So, again, it's not about judging. It's about being able to show to others, this is possible. It's being able to show to others, it's possible to not live in competition. It's possible to live a very slow pace, to practice every day, to take care of myself every single day, and make a living in this world and have beautiful relationships and a beautiful community and a beautiful life. And all of that is possible. But that's not what we've been trained and conditioned to believe. So, it takes a lot of unlearning.
Well, thank you, Brian. And again, you're hitting on a lot of different angles here. One is you talked about mindset, right? And that's a big power right there. Having a different approach to life, and you changing your mindset, how you look at things. That's one. Two, everything you're talking about is analytical. I mean, you're literally analyzing in real time situations. Unfortunately, most of the people are not. And I will not judge everybody, but I think we all fall into that trap where we're not analyzing and then talking or reacting. We react and then we figure it out later. Like, shoot first, ask question later. That's what we usually do, as opposed to like, well, benefit of the doubt. Maybe this person is going to a bad day or something's going on. Maybe I should just back off. whatever the case may be. Meaning is now, and we relationship. You mentioned relationship. That's the biggest thing. I mean, people start back and forth, and it doesn't, do anything. And next thing we're having a bad argument, and maybe something bad happens. A lot of things can't actually stop if the people just take a breather and walk away at the moment, or at least process things faster. And I love what you said about, I don't know what you've been through, how your day was, right? And I just come in at the wrong time, wrong place, and a trigger will push something. And you're right. Some of us, all of us, carry some baggage from our birth to now, right, or whatever the now is. And whatever our experiences are already, like, we have these almost like defense mechanism. So as soon as someone comes to you and touches that, you're like ready to fight, right? And that's not a cool thing, but at the same time, that's how we've been conditioned. And it's almost a programming. I love what you said, and learning things, right? And you said something about, I'm not in the mood of competition. I'm doing me, and I'm working, my life, and I can still make a living and be happy, right? And that takes us to a different discussion. Well, not discussion, but a point that I love to actually explore is, your life is yours, and the way I this is me personally. This is literally how I see it. I am just my own character in this scenario, and the whole world around me is just the actual stage and everything, and the other characters that I have to interact with. But so how I play my character in this world, is going to be interactions every day, but it's still my world. I can still design some of this script a little bit in my way. I have some control of that. Not everybody thinks it that way. And so we think that that's what it is. It's supposed to be a certain way. School gives us a certain way of thinking, right? The world, the news, everything is putting some programming on how things should be, how to dress. I mean, sometimes I have this difficulty with my own kids, like, why do you have to do this? Or because my friends are doing this. You don't have to be like your friends. You can be unique. I mean, I try to be as unique as possible. This is me, my signature. It's you. It's not, again, you being you, as I love that, by your concept. It's not like I have to subscribe to everybody else's, model, and I have to be like a minion or a copy clone type, person. I don't have to be that. I can be my own person, and I can find my own way to live and be happy at the same time. And maybe I can even benefit others, but if I am literally off, and then things are not going to work the right way, and I'm probably going to react the wrong way, I probably things are going to mess up, over and over. The other thing is that when you live your life, right, as you progress in life, and, I think I'm a little older than you, but I can tell you this, you get to a point where you start literally calculating everything more, carefully, because time is the most valuable asset we have, and we run out of it, all the time. Unfortunately, it has a time expiration, time frame, right? And so the more you get, older, you start getting wiser. And, I know we're not going to change the past, hopefully. But I think, well, yeah. But hopefully, yeah. But, like for audiences watching and listening at all groups, all ages, right? Just, think about you again, see the opposite of what you said, instead of thinking backwards, think about the future. How long do I have a guarantee? I don't have a guarantee, but I have today, and I can make a change. If I dwell about yesterday, it's just not going to do anything. I can worry about today and hopefully plan for a better future, and then learn not only from my mistakes, but maybe from everything around me and how I can do it. I love what you said about, we can make that equilibrium, the balance, and stop, the cycle and the vicious and always going in the wrong way. And you get to the point where it really become more Zen and more like, I don't have to deal with this. I don't have time for this.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I think that are really interesting in what you're trying to explore. And I think that one is understanding we're all unique, we're all original, and we all bring a gift to the world. And by us not doing that, we're preventing not only ourselves from exploring that, but everybody else from exploring that and from knowing that. It's really interesting, though, to understand psychologically and and our mechanisms, how they work, is when we start to grow, when we are little kids, like from baby to like the first few years, we want to belong to our family. Like, we want to belong. We want to find that safe space for us. As we start to grow a little bit more, like closer to the 7 years old, then we are trying to find our tribe with our friends. So we find that place. So we want to, see others, and as you're saying with your kids, we are trying to find that that connection with everyone. So therefore we start to look at that. So at that time, that's okay. The problem that we have is that we don't get out of that even in adulthood. Like once that no longer is a survival mechanism, because that's how we've been wired. We survive by being part of a community. First our family, then our larger community with friends, and then it's like, okay, now I don't need to play that game anymore, but we never get out of that. And that's where it's important to understand that had its place and its time, and now I want to come back to the essence of who I am, and I need to explore, because I've been learning so much about others, and I've been so conditioned to believe that I need to live by what others think of me, or what others might think of me, that I care too much about that. And I'm so grateful that I learned how to not care about what others think about me to make me change who I am. I will still listen and I still care about others, but there's a limit in terms of that. Like I don't care if someone else thinks that I'm an asshole. I don't care if someone else thinks that I'm a bad person. That's them projecting onto me. I'm going to live my life. I mean, I don't believe that I'm that, and I don't think that anybody thinks that of me, but I'm not going to live my life according to other people's expectations. And I think that the other topic that you mentioned that is really important, that is about understanding the preciousness of this life and each moment that we're living in, and this present moment. This is one of the things of why I loved the Buddhist teachings and the Buddhist philosophy, because death is a big part of it, and impermanence is a big part of it. And I practiced for when I was living in the Buddhist center for some months. My main practice was I'm going to sleep and I'm not waking up. So how am I going to live today? Knowing this might be the last day of my life. And I am not, like going to be like, okay, I'm going to travel the world now. It's like, no, like you're living the day that you're living now, like whatever is on my calendar, I'm going to do that. The key there is how am I choosing to live my life? Understanding that preciousness, understanding that, like, I don't know when my last day is going to be. I don't know when your last day is going to be. I don't know when the last day of my parents are going to be, or anybody else. So not living things unsaid, not living things, just to simmer there and bubble up. Like I talk to my parents, and every single time that I talked to in the last few years, I tell them that I love them. I didn't used to do that. I thought that it was a given, like, and that I love them. But I realized, like, they might, because I didn't grow up saying that, they might not know it in the way that I feel like it is. The same with a partner or with kids. When we believe that tomorrow is a given, we don't do the things today that matter. So going back again to that question of what is important. What's important not to let other things that are not important to be in the way, not to let what others might think of me to actually get out in the way of what I am here to do. Not like, like projecting that in 5 years I might make, like $5 million with this, whatever it is that I'm doing, prevent me from actually spending time with my loved ones today. Because whether that happens or that doesn't happen, that today, especially if you have kids, that's never coming back. So what are we doing to bring balance to the different spheres and aspects of our life that are not just about work and money, and not about how we are perceived by others? And that is key in all of this, understanding, like, there's no given thing. Like I can project, we are super creative. Our brain is amazing, our mind is amazing. We can project and we can create all of these different scenarios, and some of them might actually happen, and that's beautiful. But if we are always future focused, we're missing out on the present moment. And this is the key on a lot of the work that I do, is understanding, yes, there is a past, yes, there is a future in this linear time. The only thing that exists is this present moment. So how can I allow myself to be present and to heal and to integrate and process what came before and to focus forward, but rooted in this present moment. Focus forward with intention, focus forward with love and with gratitude, focus forward with knowing it might not happen because I might die today. And I'm still going to be grateful for what is now. So bringing that balance is key. And again, that's not our main way of living in this society. We don't have that. We are taught to just follow one path of what success looks like. And the key there, a lot of times for me, is look at the people that we think that are successful. Like whoever you think that is successful, look not only from one little lens, look at them as human beings. Not perhaps, like I grew up idolizing Michael Jordan, for example. Like for me, the greatest basketball player of all. Like, and like in that aspect, amazing. Like I can, I can channel his energy when I'm, like playing basketball and it's like, and I'm shooting or something. But not every aspect of his life I know about. So, how has his relationship with his partners been, or with his kids been, or with his friends, or with the rest of his family, with his community, like with his teammates? I know watching, like different documentaries or reading through the years, he wasn't the greatest teammate, and it's like, do I want to be like that? Well, if I want to achieve that, if I would be an NBA player, perhaps in that aspect, if I choose to, and I don't care about those other things, yes, but I see my life much more holistically. Like I want to be a nice person to the people around me. I want to actually be present with what is, and yes, to, like to do things well. But what well means for me, not for what society or what others might think of me. So I'm like, with that, like I had people asking me like a few years ago why I wasn't successful doing what I'm doing. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, well, you're not making that much money compared to other people that are doing the same thing. And I'm like, well, I just think that I'm super successful. Like I live what I want, how I want, do what I want, like in my own time, in my own terms, like, and I still make a living. I can travel around the world. And it's like, I'm pretty successful by my standards. If you don't think that I am, cool. Like, again, not being preoccupied with what others measure in sticks. So the more that we can start to balance all of these different things, that slowing down, the being able to reflect, the being able to understand the preciousness of this moment and this life and the people around us, and not taking that for granted, and being able to look at all of those aspects of our lives. This is one of the things, like that the pandemic and the lockdowns, I think that for a lot of people, super challenging, but for a lot of people, it gave them the time and the space to realize, I've been living a life completely out of alignment with who I want to be. I'm just going to quit, like what I'm doing. And I'm, like, what's the worst that can happen? I can find myself.
Brian, I'm listening to you, and it's amazing because some of the stuff that you're talking about is so powerful. And I think for viewers listening right now, when you think about it, the key concept is, first, we don't know. We don't guarantee one extra minute. Every minute is really you have to think that it could be the last one. I have actually known people that died younger, or at least at a younger age. And I know that they had aspirations, they had all kind of stuff and plans and stuff, but then one day they just were not here. And, and sometimes I reflect about that, like that could be any one of us. And so what have I done, and how can I make today the best? And that's a powerful, tool to use to just kind of adjust. And when you add to it the two concepts you mentioned, one about success and what that means, you're right. We all measure success for the most part with, fame and money. And maybe that's not really what success is. And that's not actually what success is. Success varies based on your own projection and what you really want out of life. If you live harmonious, you're healthy, you're happy, you have everything, and you don't have to worry about more, then you're going to be a rich person. Actually, we have a teaching which says, if I wake up in the morning, I'm healthy, I have a roof over my head, and I have food for the day, I'm a king. Yes. I mean, think about it. I have everything, right? Some people wake up, they don't have a roof. Some people wake up, they don't have food. Some people wake up with no health, and therefore everything is collapsing. and some people don't wake up, right? So it's crazy, but that's the concept. And then the other one is, you're right, we've been conditioned that everything is seen by the lens of others, like what other people have think of me. And I love what he said. I don't care what the other think of me. Whatever they think, it's their own perception. I know I have my own plan. I have my own vision, my own projection. I want to do certain things a certain way, and I know where I'm headed. Again, you're right. This is not about not being prepared for the future. This is not about not going, and planning. You plan, but you live the moment. Many people don't live the moment. They're so caught up in life, and then their health is gone. Their kids are gone. Their family is gone. They haven't spent any time. I can tell you a personal thing. I mean, I came to the States, I was young, and for 9 years, I didn't see my dad, for 9 years. And then from that point on, I've seen him maybe a couple of years in life. I still to date, I wish I had more time with him. All right. But because I made the choice to move out, and live my life, and 9 years, you haven't been able to, you talk to him every now and then. I mean, this was before WhatsApp and all these things. So you'll have to call them, right? And it didn't happen the same day. And so over the years, you realize that, like, what the hell happened? He passed when I was 33, and, I counted the years that I spent with him, and it was literally just a few years. He was here and he was gone. It's like, that's it. Yeah. I wish I had more time with him. And that's something that sometimes you don't realize. And again, that's just personal to me. But I had the time to reflect on that. Like, what if I had more time with him? We could have done a lot more things, right? And sometimes we don't. I know people, for example, one of the things that ever affected me in life was I was doing some consulting for a company, and one of the people I worked with, their father literally retired and died the next day. So imagine, most of us actually waiting to do things when we retire. Because that's what we're going to, you're going to go 65, you're going to retire, and then you have this nice paycheck and whatever you save, and hopefully you can enjoy it. Well, at that time, your health is not working. you're not able to travel much. Things may not be the same, and you've missed on a lot of things. I mean, you want to see the world when you're younger and happier and healthier and whatever. And again, no one guarantees health. Many people had plans for 2020, and the tragedy hit, and pandemic was here, and a lot of things changed. People lost businesses, people lost lives, loved ones. The world went upside down, right? And that's the thing. We never know what the next bad thing is going to happen, and it will happen. Sometimes, it's just this world that we live in is so crazy that you have to factor in that there's always something crazy that can happen, whether it's natural or human. I mean, we have wars, right? Many people are living happy, and the next thing there's a war. And then now they're displaced. They have no family, members die. They have no home. They have no food. Sometimes you have no problem. And then you have, some sort of a bad event happen, earthquakes, God forbid, tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever. And now you have everything changed in your life. And so, but what have you done? Did you maximize the time you had with whoever I love what you said about, I call my dad, my mom, I love you. You want to affirm that, that's, and at least that, God forbid, you're not going to see them again, at least the last thing. I mean, the hardest part is if you part away from someone and you were not able to actually, or you left in bad terms, it is going to devastate you over the years, right? And again, the example I gave of me, it's just, I had a good relationship with that, and I was with him until the last moment. But many years went by that I could have enjoyed more time with him and done more things with him, and I didn't. And it was like a split second.
Yeah, and that it's the key there is about the shift of the paradigm, the shift of understanding how we're living in that perspective. And again, how the key for me is always with what you're sharing as an example. I had the same with my grandpa when he died, and I'm like, well, what am I learning about that? What am I learning for the relationships that I have still? Am I actually making time for that? Perspective is key in all of this. Perspective is key in what you were saying about being grateful. I have, I wake up, and as part of my morning practice, I do meditation, I do movement, and I have a gratitude list. And it's super simple. It's gratitude for having my body, for having health, for having different things that, as you're saying, most people are taken for granted. And that is key in being able to understand, what's important, and understanding as well, projecting forward. Just think of friends or family that don't live completely, that are not people that you see every week. start to actually map out, if you do live 20 more years, how many hours you're going to spend together. It doesn't get to even days. And I'm bringing that to be like,
Oh my
am
God.
I just going to spend a few days until the moment that I die with my brother? Like, I need to change that. And bringing that perspective and that shift to the paradigm is so important to be able to understand what's important. What do I love? What do I care about? And how am I showing up in my life? Because those are the questions that we, and majority of us, we haven't stopped to ask ourselves. So when we're able to do that, then we're able to change our behaviors because we now know. And what we know, we can't unknow.
Well, it's amazing the perspective piece that you said, because literally you take off sleep time, whatever else we do, the food, whatever, right? And how much time do you really spend with anybody? Like, your parents, your kids, kids grow up. I have, kids. My older son is already independent. He's been living out of the house for almost 7 years already. And, in 7 years, we might have been together maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever, the time that he was on vacation or we were on vacation with him. So that's already gone. Again, same example with me. Like, it's before you know it, time is just gonna continue and it's moving at a pace. There is an actual there is even a physical piece that I don't know what's going on, but it looks like the time is moving faster than ever, right? Well, at least the perception of time. The hours are the same, but it just that the day you wake up and the night is here. Like, what happened, right? And it is happening. But you're right. When you add it up, like, if I'm gonna go to this place, once every 5 years, well, I have maybe 30 years, 40 years. Even if, like, for me, I'm 51. So if I live another 50 years, I'm already like, that's 50, like half of the time. And the time that passed was just like quick. So even if I do, it's not a lot. Now, if I do anything less than that, I'm almost done. And you have to be conscious about it. And I'm aware of that. And so I'm trying to maximize every moment today. I'm trying to maximize every opportunity I have with everybody and try to do the best. It's funny because I'm like working triple time on things in my life because I want to do everything I want, as soon as possible so I can get them in and don't waste any moment on my day. And
as long as you keep your health.
Of course. Yeah. No, well, yes. I love it. Yeah. And I love that because at the end, this is not me. I don't stress up. That's just not me. It doesn't work that way. It is at my own pace, but I'm saying it's things that I love. So I do what I love. This whole podcast or show is about something I wanted because I wanted to get it done, because before you know it, one day I'm not going to be here, but maybe this message will be here. Right. Yeah. And that's part of the legacy. But there's so many, like, we talk about bucket list. We hear that all the time, and I had a guest who actually from Australia, and he had mentioned something about, it's not something, because we all know the bucket list is something you do when you're like, I'm going to leave that to the end and I'm going to start doing. No, he was like, the bucket list is something that you are doing every day. What have I done? What can I do? What, you put it on a list and you do it now, not until, because we always like, oh, we're going to do this later. We're going to do this later. We're going to do this later. There's no guarantee there's going to be later. There's only today that's guaranteed. And now, it's not even today. It's now, because you wake up, you may not make the night, And so it's amazing, but it's how we think about things. It's how we consciously, this whole talk show about your concept of consciousness or conscious action. And it is powerful because being aware, being conscious, and taking the right action about it is just, the paramount piece that we need to have. But yet many of us are literally zombies. And I always I use the word zombies because, it kind of portrays what we, the picture of like us just going, roaming and not knowing. Right. Mm-hmm. And so that's a challenge, but it happens to a lot of us. And most of us, including me, I can say that there was a time in my life I was exactly that. I was just going to motions, following whatever trends, and I was just that. And then there was a point where, like, wait a minute, there's more to this. I got to like back, and stop and just kind of like, wait a minute, and observe and reset. And that's the other thing. Every moment, every day, we can reset. There is no such thing as like it's over or it's too late. And again, that's another way of thinking. If you start thinking it's over, you're wrong. You can change today. You can change tomorrow.
I have clients that are in their 70s, in their 80s, and this is the first time that, in a sense, as you're saying, the zombie, they woke up from being that, and then they start to make change. But as you were saying, that the old paradigm is you work your entire life, especially for someone else, but you work your entire life to be able to enjoy after retirement. Old paradigm that doesn't exist anymore. What you were saying, we live each day because we don't know when when it's the last day, and it's again not. It's about that balance, the dance between this present moment and the future. It's about being able to have that perspective, and when we have that perspective, then we show up the way that we want, and we act the way that we want. That is all about that conscious action. That is about being able to understand, like, how do I want to show up at this moment? I'm going to be present here now talking with you because guess what? I am here talking with you. Why would I be anywhere else in my mind? Like, that means that I'm wasting my present moment. And there's so much beauty and so much depth in the present moment, only if I notice it. And that is that awareness piece, like, if I understand how amazing life can be, and that, as you're saying, each moment, now, I have a new opportunity, a new chance, a new space to change and to rewrite my story, and to rewrite how I want to show up, and to rewrite how I want to be with others, and to rewrite, what am I doing in every single day, and not judging it. I didn't do it. Again, new chance, not judging it. It's the same with meditation. I tell a lot of times to a lot of my students, meditation, you're going to think. Don't think that that's wrong. But the time that you catch yourself thinking, then you just come back. Being kind to yourself, not judging that you were thinking. It's just literally, I caught myself, I was going through that thought. It's like, okay, just come back to whatever it is that you're practicing or you're focusing on. And then you're going to go again, and then just come back. Like, if I start to judge myself, then all that I'm doing is I'm thinking more and I'm ruminating on that instead of being able to come back to the present moment in the practice. So it doesn't matter whether that is meditation or whether that is anything else in life. It's about understanding each moment I have a new choice. Each moment I have a new chance. How am I doing it? Am I actually actively choosing consciously, or am I just going through the motions, as you're saying, like being a zombie? So just understanding that.
No, thank you. And you know what? It's amazing that you said that the concept of waking up, right? We wake up every morning, technically, right? But the veil is still there. Sometimes you got to unclear, you got to remove the veil, and the veil is like, wow. And I mean, I mentioned the matrix earlier about the red pill versus the white and blue pill, right? Yeah. You take the right pill, and you're gonna see like, oh, damn, that's a lot of wasted stuff. Why am I worried about what people think? Why am I worried about things? Let me live today and maximize the opportunity. Let me enjoy my family. Enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy.
Yes.
Religious too. I mean, if you're religious, do your thing.
Yeah, everybody is, you do you.
Exactly.
But as well, it's super important. This is one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients and a lot of my students is, don't wait until you hit rock bottom to make the change. You have the chance now to make the change. Whatever that change is, whether that is health, relationship, work, man, whatever it is, don't wait until you hit rock bottom. That is what I'm fortunate that I was able to do that I didn't wait until I hit rock bottom to be able to start to develop and to understand more. And a lot of people are not going to make that choice until that happens. And guess what? A lot of people don't come out of that bottom. So, do you want to chance it? And that is key for me. It's like, now you have the chance to have a better life for yourself, not what I think is a better life or what anybody else, what is for you. Healthier, more balanced, more aligned, just being well in general in all aspects of life. And that is key.
And one thing you mentioned something, and it was powerful about, as long as you're healthy, you said, and that's the key. Again, I mean, we talked about the value of time, but then if you're not healthy, nothing is relevant, right? You got to be able to enjoy all these things, because you can have, even if you had time, let's say we give you the extended time, but if your health is not going to support whatever activities, then you're not going to enjoy your life. You're not going to do any of this stuff. So again, you cannot be on the detriment of your health or like the stress, and nothing is worth it. Yeah. I personally believe in that. Nothing is worth, going crazy. Not a job, no people, nothing. I mean, family, maybe, because they're close. And sometimes even family, they make their choices, right? And it is what it is. But at the end of the day is how you see yourself, and you can, because again, you're not even able to help anybody if you actually hurt yourself, if you're
Yeah.
to your point, hit rock bottom. Now there are powers and energies sometimes when you actually really defiant, you get to that bottom because that's the trigger. But if you're conscious enough, you catch on before you actually get there. But sometimes things do happen for a reason, and you get to that point. That's when you're like, "Whoa, I'm in front of a wall here,"
Yeah.
and now you realize, like, I got to make some shifts, and then you start.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's no reason to get to that. You can still project that, like, well, what am I looking at? If I continue this path, well, there's only two ways it's going to wind up, and neither of them is good for me. So let me stop, and then let me readjust. And that's the thing. But then again, there's belief here, right? You have to have belief, and the first belief is in you and your capabilities, and then the belief that you can make the change. Not everybody has that. That sometimes people doubt themselves. I can't do it.
People.
How am I going to do that? It's difficult. I need money. I need this. The first thing you need is you, and then the rest will happen. If there's a will, there's a way, and I believe in that.
And others, not only you, like others, like we're not alone. Like seek help, go and ask others for support. Like we've been so conditioned that makes us look weak. I think that the weak is the one that is unable to go and search for help. That is weakness. We are not alone, and we are not even meant to just go all of it alone. That is the power of collaboration. That's the power of community. That's the power of family. That's the power of having each other's back. That's what I do with all of my clients. I'm there for them. I'm not doing anything other than being there for them. That is the key. And and as you're saying, this is all about understanding. Again, what's important? How do I want to show up? How do I want to be? Not if I have developed the tools and the ways of being able to be resilient and to be with things. I mean, resilient not just by pushing through, but by actually allowing things and to surrender to the present moment. I can be okay and I can be well with whatever happens. Even if something super challenging happens, now I have the tools to be able to navigate through them. In the past, I didn't have those tools. So anything that happened, even if it were smaller things, I was like, oh my God, this is too much. Now I have the tools. So my entire approach is, preventative approach in a sense. It's be well, develop all of those toolkits of how to be with your energy, with your mindset, with your body, with your feelings, with your emotions. And then whatever happens, you're able to deal with it. You're able to navigate and dance through life, through all of the ups and downs, the lefts and the rights. It's like you're just dancing and you're just moving through life, and it's beautiful. That doesn't mean that everything is perfect. There's no such thing. But you're able to navigate and not get completely blown away by it, or it's not kicking you in the ass completely. It's like, it's a nice touch on the shoulder, and it's like, oh, okay, I can deal with that. So let's dance with life a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that message. And it's funny because when I mentioned about the belief part, and you said and believe in others, and you're perfectly right, because when I said it starts with you, like you have to be conscious and stuff. But you're right, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, I mean, we talked about the soccer and the World Cup earlier, but if you watch the opening of the World Cup, the message from Morgan Freeman and the guy that actually gave the quote, it was a verse from the Quran, and he said it that mankind, you were created so you can get to connect, right? And that's the thing, you're not alone in this world. We have people all over, that you can reach out to and participate, and there is help. And to your point, people collapse and they just think that they can do this alone. And again, maybe you don't want to, ask, for money or something, but there's other means of help. I mean, you can reach, for ideas, for, just support. More support is just as important, right? And there's many ways to do this. You are as a service, and that takes us to you, right? You're helping people, get to the level where they're totally aware, conscious, and then take the action. And your service is exactly what it is. And it is serving people. It is changing lives. It is turning point for a lot of folks. Many, I love when you said, people are in the 70s and 80s, and they still have the opportunity to do this. There's no such thing as I'm at the end. That's the beginning of the new life. And again, it's all perspective, right? I mean, people think also age and this. it's how you think that makes you either older or not older. You can be wise and young, and you can be wise and old. It doesn't matter. Age is just a number. There's so many things we can. It's all philosophy, but it's all the perspective that you put in. The way you see it, the way it's going to be. If you see it that bright and positive, and there is plenty out there, and you're right, there is a lot of people around us, and we should all have, listen, if the world will be a better place if we all help each other and we all look at each other and kind of support each other. Yeah, we can compete in everything, but at the end of the day, for the right purpose, everybody is going to have to benefit things. And that's the difference in humanity, right? Unfortunately, not everybody is at that level. And hopefully shows like this and the work you do can make that change. And people slowly but surely are getting like, oh, I can do this. And sometimes it's just that, like, oh, I listened to this talk and wow, I didn't realize I could do this. Yes, you can. You had the power. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out, right? And now that brings me to the next question. So, right, your service. Now, I'm assuming it is a local, right? Or you actually work also internationally.
I work internationally, yeah, whether that is in person, not so much in person, there's restrictions all of the time for traveling, but yeah, online, I do work with people all around the world.
All right. So how does that work? Like your program, someone wants to participate. Do they just reach out to you? I mean, obviously we're going to have the link in the description of the show so people can actually reach out, but then like you would work with them. I mean, is this like a session program or is it like, courses? Is it like a one-on-one? I mean, how does that work? Just for our audiences so they can get excited about it.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely reach out. I try to always, there's no one size fits all. So I work with people to understand what's going to be supportive for them or what's going to serve them, whether that is, like working one-on-one for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, more, whether that is, like just a few sessions or whether that is like an online course. I do have online courses, like I do have meditations on insight timer or different things like that. So, not everybody is going to be the right fit for everything, and I might not be the right fit. That's why I always encourage people to reach out, and then we can have a short call just to see if our energies match and our ways of seeing things and the direction is the right one. So I have a lot of times that I tell people, even if they are interested in working with me, like it's not the right match, so I just refer them to someone else. Again, it's not competition. I don't care about, like I lost a client. It's like, I don't see that. It's like, I'm here to support people, and I know that I can support certain people and not everyone. So
you're still supporting them by providing them with another referral. You still support them. So you did the job. But so I have a technical question, and this it kind of sounds weird, but because people sometimes are very touchy when it comes to methods or beliefs and so on and so forth. I know your work is kind of with a Buddhist tradition. Is there a problem with part of it, but I'm saying, but so it's not a problem with people to approach. That's the thing, because sometimes people are listening, well, maybe that's different, I'm religious in this way, it may not work for me.
I work with people from every religion, every country, every culture. Like when I teach at university, or I work with businesses, like I don't usually talk too much from a Buddhist perspective. I talk a lot more from a neuroscience perspective or from like a mindset perspective. So for me, it's about meeting people where they are. So it's like I'm completely open to working with anyone and everyone.
And thank you for that. The reason I asked the question, just to clarify for people, because sometimes people automatically like, well, I'm not going to deal with this because I don't believe in this. But this is an open thing. This is about just you being better, and you take the best of it, and you don't have to take any religious aspect of it. Although some of this is very across all the beliefs. I think we all have a similar base frame, and I think that's the beauty about this. We don't realize that all religions have the same foundation. But we just interpret them differently, and everybody's got their own little feel about it, and that's all good. And that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, it's available. but understanding that reaching out to you is actually for everyone. Everybody can approach. Everybody can use the services and utilize your knowledge, and it will benefit them, and they can apply whatever their culture or belief is, and that's the beauty of it. So thank you for clarifying that.
If you're a human being, then reach out.
All right, that's it. And I think that at the end of the day, that's the whole piece of it, right? We're all humans. We all have the similarities in how life goes for us, and understand how we can work in this world and be beneficial to others and to ourselves, and really live in harmony and peace and in a very zen moment and a zen life. I mean, that's like power. That's like the real wealth. I mean, if you really
Yes.
get to that level, that's a higher being level. And I mean, we all should aspire for that. And I really support all that message and that idea, because every one of us is seeking that top level achievement, and not necessarily. Believe me, I think if you apply it correctly, it will even guide you towards more money and more success and
Yes.
prosperity, because you will apply it differently everything else. You're not going to go just running. You're going to do everything with conscience, and that's
Because
a big
the
part.
world, the universe is abundant.
Yep, that's right.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you so
listen.
much.
No, thank you. I mean, we've exceeded the hour, but certainly it was worth every minute of it. I mean, again, so it was a constructive hour. It was a powerful hour, and so we've learned a lot. And I actually, learned a lot, and and the energy also is important. And I think hopefully that many people watching and listening right now will benefit from it. And you take whatever you want from this show and just apply some of it. There's a few things here that are really like universal, and if you use them, it can change your life. It can change your perspective, and the outcome is always going to be positive. There's nothing here that's going to give you anything wrong other than just changing your life for better. So for what it's worth, I mean, it's like gold or better than gold. I think whatever the highest price on this planet right now in this universe, I think that's going to give you. So Brian, thank you so much. And so the website is like for people to reach out.
Yeah, consciousaction.co.nz as New Zealand, or brianberneman.com.
Okay, and I'll have both connections, links on the description show. So people actually please do reach out. I mean, you're available, and just bear in mind that he's in the future.
So I know more.
Yeah. So always, know that you call it in the future here, and it's funny. There's no prediction, but it's just real time in the future. That's all. All right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the time, for the space, and for sharing as well your presence.
No, well, thank you so much for the time and for the work you do, and keep it up, man. So folks, thank you for watching, for being with us, for listening, and hopefully you enjoy the show. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic, Hurricane H, and we'll talk soon. Bye.